Hello everybody, welcome back to a video, and today I am playing the new campaign trail. Yes, I know, it's been a while since I did one of these videos, but I've been wanting to play some more. So, starting now, I'm going to be covering some of the statewide offices to provide something a little different. But you might be thinking, if you go start a regular game, then you just start a regular game, right? You only get presidential elections. So I'm going to show you how to get to the statewide offices. So you're going to go to Mod Loader, and this has all kinds of different ones. But the one we're doing today is, we can just scroll down actually pretty far down, because we are doing, where is it? Today we are doing Pennsylvania Governor. Okay. 2022 Pennsylvania Governor. Democratic Pennsylvania Attorney General Josh Shapiro faces off against State Senator Doug Mastriano, the Republican nominee, in one of the most hotly watched governor races of 2022. Shapiro is seen as the clear favorite in an otherwise Republican-favored year. Shapiro must hold the Biden coalition together while also reaching out to moderates who are uneasy about the current economic situation. Mastriano must moderate many of his stances and find ways to take the focus off certain extremist connections he has. Can Shapiro hold the line for Democrats in a crucial swing state, or will Mastriano flip the script and find a way to somehow ride the environment to victory? So we are going to be trying to defeat Josh Shapiro by playing as Doug Mastriano. He is perhaps the Republican establishment's worst nightmare. A state senator since 2019, he leaned heavily into the 2020 election during his primary campaign and has beaten out a wide field of Republican candidates, including National Republicans' preferred Lou Bartella. Donald Trump's endorsement likely helped him scoop up 43% of the primary vote, ahead of Bartella's 20%. National Republicans do not seem interested in getting invested in this race, as many see Shapiro as the favorite. Thus, he will have to deal with name recognition and fundraising disadvantages. Mastriano can win by focusing on economic concerns, keeping 2020 to the sidelines, and perhaps connect Shapiro with Joe Biden and Tom Wolf. Okay, who are we going with? Okay. Claire Del Rosso is a state representative from the Pittsburgh suburbs who managed to win the nomination for lieutenant governor in an incredibly crowded field. Del Rosso is a more moderate establishment candidate compared to your firebrand style, which could blunt some opposition to you in the critical Philadelphia suburbs. Likewise, her home in the Pittsburgh suburbs will help bring regional balance to the ticket, something Shapiro and Davis seem to be doing. The only real downside to her nomination is that her more moderate stances on things, such as mail-in ballots and opposition to January 6th, may deflate parts of the base, and your conflicting views may make campaigning in the general election a bit more difficult. But overall, she should be a net benefit to the ticket. Or, let's see, Rick Saccone, a former state representative and a very controversial figure years after his well-known loss in a House special election to Connor Lamb. He posted an image of himself at the Capitol building on January 6th, claiming to be storming the Capitol, leading to an investigation. He is incredibly conservative and pledges to be a close ally of Donald Trump in any position he is in. He is also known for his very religious beliefs in regards to separation of church and state. Saccone is as radical, if not more radical, than you, and by endorsing him, many national Republicans may write this race off. Many national Republicans, including some of your own advisors, are advising you to stay out of the primary. let's just go with the first one. Seems like the safer bet. Because Pennsylvania is a iffy state in terms of can we win it. Okay, let's take a step back. The Republican gubernatorial primary was a long one and has seen a wide field of candidates vying for the nomination. Most believe that a Trump endorsement for any candidate will help them easily secure a win. What will you do to secure his nomination? Voters are tired of Trump just as they're tired of Biden. I will ignore Trump himself, but still hit on points that his base enjoys. Voter integrity and inflation. I'll push hard to secure a Trump endorsement, given the way my primary campaign has been ran. We won't look legitimate to hardcore MAGA supporters without his seal of approval. Most of Trump's base knows who I am and what I stand for. If we lean too hard into the Trump base, it might hurt us among moderates. We will position ourselves to win independents who are mad at the Biden economy. We will try to secure Trump's endorsement early and clearly, so that after that is cleared, we can pivot towards the center for the general election. This is interesting. I think the bottom two are probably our best bets. Let's go with let's do it's a close race right now. So let's do the early and clearly one. Smart move. Trump endorsed you months ahead of the primary, giving you the proper momentum and name recognition. You'll still be dealing with a lot of attacks calling you radical, though. Okay, let's see. Okay, we've taken the lead. Although you managed to win the primary, National Republicans seem to doubt the ability of your campaign and may withhold funding. What will you say to change their minds? Okay. These national big money Republicans think I'm radical. Have they seen some of Shapiro's proposals? Shapiro will bring all the problems of Wolf and Biden with him. Trying his socialist policies is the real radicalism. There's a lot at stake with this election. Do we allow rampant voting fraud in our Commonwealth again? Are we okay with another term of Democrats willing to lock us down? This is the most important gubernatorial election this year, and national Republicans need to understand this. Honestly, Republicans can run grassroots campaigns too. We will focus on turning out the base, just as Trump has done in the Commonwealth before us. I think these national Republicans think I don't have a good strategy. I'll emphasize that 4 years of Shapiro means 4 years of policies that gave us our current inflation and high gas prices. I think that one's actually our best bet. Trying to tie Josh Shapiro to Joe Biden, I think, is our smartest bet. Good one. National Republicans are now more eager to boost your campaign with large funds, but you're still going up against Shapiro's massive war chest. Okay. This seems like a close district. One issue you've emphasized while on the campaign trail in the primary is strong voter integrity. In what way will you emphasize this during the general election? Looking at it now, I'm not so sure there was fraud. Maybe some cases, but not enough to swing a state like Pennsylvania. We need to focus on the issues at hand to win this election. We could probably win without even mentioning claims of voter fraud. We'll bring up election security. Let's have the economy be the forefront, as we let Shapiro and his liberal policies collapse from the Biden inflation. We can't come out too hard with this. Voters are more likely to support stuff such as voter ID without it being tied to these sorts of claims. Let's reassure our support to keep our election secure. Even if not everyone agrees with us, I sincerely believe that there was voter fraud in the 2020 elections. We must fight this with stronger voter integrity laws and take back our country. Okay. Okay. I say let's have the economy at the forefront. Your base is slightly deflated, but the less you tie yourself to election fraud claims, the better. Just make sure to lean into them occasionally so turnout doesn't depress. Okay. Oh, we're barely in the lead. Educational issues are a common topic for gubernatorial elections, and this year is no different. Shapiro has pledged to continue Governor Wolf's policies on education. How will your administration work on educational issues? There's something scary going on in our schools, and it's thanks to Biden and Tom Wolf. Our kids are getting mass indoctrinated with this critical race theory and woke gender crap. I'll put a stop to it on day one. Why focus on these sort of culture war battles? Voters want answers on the Biden economic crisis, and we must rise to the task and answer them. I think it would be smart to follow in the footsteps of Youngkin or DeSantis with this one. Critical race theory should be banned from public schools, and perhaps we can push a bill similar to Don't Say Gay. Kids don't have to learn about this stuff yet. One often ignored issue with education is we don't see where our taxpayer money is going. I'm not saying we need to defund our schools, but we should examine how our money is being used in schools. Honestly, either the first three are honestly pretty good. And while yes, we should focus on the economy, we also do need to answer some of these other questions. So I say Youngkin and DeSantis won with these tactics. I just want to say Youngkin won Virginia. This is tough. It's either the first or the third one. We can either tie. I think let's go with the third one. You've placated some moderates with this one while not upsetting the base. Overall, smart move. Okay. All right. Let's see. Although you didn't endorse anyone for lieutenant governor, it appears Carrie Del Rosso has secured the Republican nomination for lieutenant governor, and this will be your running mate. What do you have to say about her? From day one, she will be by my side to fight for a Pennsylvania First initiative, Pennsylvania First agenda, keeping our election secure and ending this Biden inflation. Carrie Del Rosso, being from the suburbs herself, will help us sweep the suburbs and bring them back into the Republican fold with common sense economic policies to bring our nation and Commonwealth back. Carrie Del Rosso would be the first female Republican lieutenant governor of Pennsylvania, and I'm glad our voters chose her to run with me. Honestly, I say the first one. It would have helped you to talk about your running mate's credentials. You're not doing much to set her apart from yourself, which you really should be doing. Okay. We've got a little bit of a lead. With the Supreme Court set to rule soon on Dobbs v. Jackson, the issue of abortion will likely be sent back to the states, making this a very hot topic for the election. How will you proceed to handle abortions as governor? We shouldn't be too shocked, but the best course of action is to deflect. Our position is controversial, and we can't be seen as flip-flopping. I stand by what I said in the primaries. No exceptions, a full ban on abortions. I am the most pro-life candidate. I will not tolerate baby murder in the Commonwealth. It's become deeply unpopular to push for a full ban, as evident by recent polling. Let's come out in support of a similar 15-week ban that Youngkin is proposing in Virginia. This is an issue that needs a lot of discussion in our legislature. I will support any abortion restrictions that come from our legislator. You see, the second one, that is not a popular position. But we do need to, I think, let's talk about a similar one that Youngkin is proposing. Your most MAGA-loving supporters accuse you of flip-flopping, and this doesn't seem to appeal to moderates as much. Expect a drop in the polls. Okay. Well, I tried. Okay. Currently, your name recognition is lower than expected, as Shapiro is outdoing you in that department. What will you do to increase your name recognition? We'll mail pamphlets across the state tying Shapiro to failed Biden policies and showing me as a better choice for the Commonwealth. Conservatives are often outdone on the online sphere. I'll post some memes on Twitter, follow some accounts, get people across Pennsylvania and the nation to know me. Let's barnstorm the rural regions. Specifically, with President Trump campaigning with us, voters will see me tied to a president who kept promises fulfilled and prices low. Let's host rallies, especially in the eastern Philly suburbs. We'll talk about economic policies and push for policies to get us out of this spending crisis. Honestly, I say either the first one or the fourth one. I mean, we do need to talk about our own policies, but attacking Shapiro would be a smart play. Let's do. I think pamphlets would probably be a good option. This is a tough one, actually. Yeah, let's do the last one. Suburban voters are warming up to you a bit. This doesn't solve every problem they have with you, but it's helping your image. Okay. Okay. Recently, the bipartisan Safer Communities Act passed Congress and was signed by President Biden. What is your stance on gun control, and what are your views on this act? Our Constitution deserves the utmost respect. The Second Amendment is clear, and while I'm not opposed to some of the provisions regarding student wellness, this is a costly bill that just takes away our rights. I was fine with this bill since the effects of it were minimal, but now we've got to draw a line somewhere with our rights and the right to own a firearm. This bill was minor and focused mostly on mental health resources. Let's focus on hammering in the Biden-Wolf inflation crisis. This bill is a disastrous mess that will enable Democrats to take away our guns. We must do what we can to stop them, and that starts with winning Pennsylvania. Honestly, I say we keep hammering on the inflation. No harm, no foul. Although your base was hoping for defense of the Second Amendment, the economy is certainly the priority, though. Okay, we're doing okay, but I'd like to have a bigger one. A bigger, margin of victory. It's time to campaign, and it appears you're down in the polls. Where in Pennsylvania would you like to campaign today? Let's go to Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, not for too long, but enough to make a splash with the press. What do the people here have to lose? Okay. Okay. Maximum turnout in the rural regions is what we need to win. We'll hit home in Gettysburg and surrounding area to help excite Republicans. The Scranton area has felt the cost of ridiculous Democrat policies. We will travel around Luzerne County and Scranton to talk about jobs. Voters will love this. Philadelphia's suburbs are key to a win here. We must reduce the margins in these voter-heavy regions. I say we go with the third one. Your numbers in these areas seem to improve. As you see, Shapiro is scrambling to host some events here. As proven by a variety of candidates, including statewide Senate candidate John Fetterman, online fundraising has huge potential. How would you like to use the internet in your campaign? We'll troll Josh Shapiro in his Twitter comments. Even post some memes under there. Perhaps we can even ratio him, as the kids say. Younger folks seem to like this TikTok app. Let's make some TikTok videos and really get our name recognition up. I think our focus should be on the campaign trail, not on the online realm. Our demographics are not the kind to use the internet as much. We'll use email, Twitter, Facebook, even Gab to get the word out that we need fundraising to go up against these establishment liberals like Josh Shapiro. I mean, I would say some internet. I think we should use some internet, but it shouldn't be an online-only campaign. So, I say, because I feel like we'd be leaving a potential route open if we completely, don't use the internet. But also, I don't know It would be funny to troll Josh Shapiro. Um, let's do the big one. While there is controversy amongst your use of Gab, you do get a decent influx of cash. Okay. The Supreme Court has now officially overturned Roe v. Wade with the Dobbs v. Jackson decision, bringing the topic up for debate once again. Democrats have gained in the polls due to this ruling. How will you clarify your stance on abortion again? Okay. Abortion is, simply put, a barbaric holocaust. As governor, I will work to completely outlaw it. I'm not going to discuss abortion. My stance isn't as popular right now. We need to keep the focus on inflation. Look, if we want to bring small government, we should mean small government. While I would never make that decision myself, that is between a woman and her doctor. If you look at a baby, it's hard to think about how someone could be willing to terminate a pregnancy. But if the state legislature gives me a bill that carves out exceptions for rape and incest, I would sign it. Oh boy, we don't have a lot of good options here. I would say we could ignore it and just focus on inflation. Let's not discuss abortion. Voters still want you to define your stance on abortion, and by keeping quiet, Shapiro's campaign uses older, very pro-life sound bites. Okay. But we're still winning, but barely. Okay. Healthcare is a topical topic. Healthcare is a typical topic every election, and this year is no different. Pennsylvania enacted Medicaid expansion all the way back in 2015. As governor, are there any additional steps you would like to take on the issue of healthcare? Shapiro and Democrats have an upper hand with healthcare. Our focus needs to be on inflation in this upcoming recession. As state senator, I've worked on legislation to make it easier for healthcare providers to do their services. Liberals love to claim I am against healthcare, but why did Wolf veto these bills? My gubernatorial administration would be one of fiscal responsibility. If we've got to roll a few things back, we will. Shapiro has this idea of increasing mental health resources in schools. Let's co-opt this stance and try to gain the upper hand on him. Honestly, let's actually focus on our record. I think that's a smart idea. Some reports fact-check that Governor Wolf didn't veto all of these bills, but touting any healthcare improvement is a win. There we go. Oh, we are... Yeah, we're barely winning. Okay. Infrastructure is a typical topic, especially in gubernatorial races. Due to the bipartisan infrastructure bill, Pennsylvania will receive billions over the next few years to improve infrastructure across the state. What is your general stance on infrastructure? Despite what the liberals may tell you, I thought this was a perfectly fine bill. Of course, my priority will be thwarting brand inflation, but this infrastructure law was a good one. Nobody hates infrastructure, but the reality is I'm not sure this was a smart spending bill given the economic troubles we've been having. However, given the damage done, we should allocate these funds accordingly. This bill is just another tab on the expensive cost of the Biden administration. The fact so many Republicans rubber stamp this in the Senate is shameful. Infrastructure isn't really a big issue. The bill passed almost a year ago. Voters are concerned with inflation, not infrastructure. Yeah, let's do that one. No harm, no foul. The package has been settled for a year now. Okay. Oh no, Shapiro's taking the lead. Okay. Recently, a video of you speaking and raising money at a far-right conference called Patriots Arise for God and Country has surfaced, with this conference including conspiracy theories such as ones on 9/11 and Hitler faking his death. How will you respond to this? If asked, let's apologize for this. We didn't realize the sorts of things they'd be talking about there, and we do not associate with them. Deflect, deflect, deflect. If this hits the major news networks, we will be in trouble. We have to keep the focus on the economy. We will simply mention that we do not endorse any of these positions and that this convention is not associated with our campaign. Maybe I don't agree with these theories, but there's something called freedom of speech, you know? This is just another example of cancel culture attacking alternative views. Man, okay. Let's keep the focus on the economy and not bring this up. Deflecting does you no favors, as a lack of response makes the situation look even worse. Expect a drop in the polls. Okay, but it puts us at the same place we were at. Okay, let's see. We could probably do that. Another scandal has popped up. Recently, news outlets have begun investigating your connections to Gab, a far right social media owner who is explicitly racist. Significantly, you paid the site $5,000 for campaign consulting. How will you deal with damage control on this? This will damage our polling numbers no matter what. Our best route is to ignore and deflect. It was simply for advertising consulting, and going forward, we're going to distance our campaign from this site. I never realized that Torva was anti-Semitic. I apologize, and going forward will not use Gab. I will continue to use Gab as more and more social media networks are censored by big tech. Let's go for this third one, because I think that's the best way to do it. This is probably the best response, even if this hurts your campaign still. Okay. Man, we're losing by almost 1%. As expected, your stance on the 2020 election has been brought up by your opponent, Josh Shapiro. You have repeatedly claimed that the 2020 election featured voting fraud and that Donald Trump won the election. To what extent will the 2020 election come up while on the campaign trail? My base has been appeased already. The sad truth is the voters we need to win aren't interested in the fraud that occurred. There's massive voter fraud in all the key swing states that illegitimately installed Joe Biden. And guess what? They're going to try to steal Pennsylvania again this year. We need a massive red wave to save Pennsylvania. There were some serious voting irregularities in the 2020 election. We need to keep our election secure if we're going to have a functioning republic. Thinking about it, I'm not so sure there were enough voting irregularities in 2020. There will be enough voting. Thinking about it, I'm not so sure if there will be enough voting irregularities in 2020. I know thanks to laws passed by the state legislature, voting will be secure this year as we flip Pennsylvania red. Let's go with the first one. Your analysis of the situation is indeed correct, and despite the fact you are still tied to the claims of fraud, you give yourself the ability to focus on other issues more. Okay, and that did close the gap a little bit. The debate with Josh Shapiro could, if done well, be the turnaround your campaign needs. Some advisors want you to push for certain conditions for a debate. How will you proceed? Let's push for one single condition, that the moderators are fair and unbiased. If Shapiro says no to that, it could very well backfire on him. Why do we even need to do a debate? Isn't Fetterman refusing to do a debate in the Senate race? Let's just keep campaigning. Let's rally up our base with this one. We need to stop the media's hidden partisan agenda. Let's put conditions down that we get to pick the moderators and some of the questions. Shapiro is weak and can easily get backed into a corner in a debate. Besides, the media treated Trump unfairly and he still won his debate. Let's do the first one. In a shock, it appears you have won tonight's debate. This will help your polling numbers and your campaign. Okay, we're getting close. Inflation is, of course, a huge issue, and voters' wallets are really affecting how they're thinking of voting at the ballot box. As governor, what will you do to tackle inflation? The biggest solution to stopping inflation is an end to all this reckless spending. I'll keep the cost of government down, which will help keep the voters' costs down. This is all Joe Biden's fault. This brand inflation is because of his reckless spending on frivolous policies. I'll lead a more fiscally responsible administration. I'll be fighting against inflation hard, slashing unnecessary programs and lowering the budget in a variety of places, such as education. This sort of stuff is all just supply chain troubles. I can't be seen making promises I can't keep. Let's attack the Democrats. Bold and aggressive, but voters, especially your base, seem to get the message. Man, okay, this is going to be a close one, I think. Gas prices are one of the biggest and most visible effects of inflation, as evident by the rising price signs at every station. As governor, what are your solutions to keeping Pennsylvania's tanks filled and prices low? We need energy independence. By drilling more at home and ending our reliance on foreign fuel, we can become a net energy exporter like under President Trump. These prices got shot up after the pandemic and still haven't come back down yet. Some of it's supply and demand, but we need to keep fracking here in Pennsylvania to drop prices. We need to end our reliance on foreign fuel and bring about energy independence via green energy. Well, this isn't something I can make a splash on as governor. It's a policy I support. Let's do a gas tax refund of $250. While this is also Shapiro's plan, it's a popular idea, and we can't risk giving him any kind of advantage on the economy. Okay. I think the first one is the best one, so let's do that. Technically, the U.S. wasn't really a net exporter under Trump, and there's little you can do as governor to change this, but as typical, your conservative base eats it up. Okay. And we're in the lead again. Okay. Hydraulic fracking, known as fracking for short, is a large business in Pennsylvania, especially in the west and north. However, recent environmental concerns about the practice have been brought up in recent years. How would fracking be treated under your governorship? I'm a Republican. My stance on fracking is pretty clear. Let's focus more on combating inflation and countering the Biden agenda. I support a variety of measures to help bring gas prices down, including lifting restrictions on fracking. We should continue fracking where possible. Fracking is key to producing energy, and Biden's restrictions against the practice exacerbate existing issues. I don't believe current restrictions are having much of an effect. I do, however, support fracking where we currently have fracking going on. I say let's do the second one. Since it allows you to endorse fracking while also not coming out as overly supporting such a controversial issue. And we're tied with Shapiro, but it looks like he barely has a lead. Topics regarding transgender folks, specifically sports bills and gender-affirming care for minors, have entered the discussion as a part of the so-called culture wars. What are your stances on these topics? If someone wants to make those sorts of decisions on their adult, I think they're free so. But these are irreversible decisions that is not safe for minors to be making at all. I'll let surrogates and others focus on the culture war issues. My goal is to bring Pennsylvania out of this inflation crisis. Freedom is freedom, right? A citizen is free to make these decisions if they and they alone choose to. I'm not going to get in the way of a person's own individual choice. Why do we allow Democrats to groom our kids like this? We have them questioning their own identity. What is this? Okay. This one, the bottom one, might come across as too angry. This one is, the third one's a no-go for sure. That's going to cause us to lose a lot of votes. And we're barely winning. Okay. We could focus on... We could let surrogates and others focus on this, and we could focus on the inflation. Smart move. Hone in on the economy and let others fight the culture wars. You don't have much to gain from focusing on this. Okay. Oh, man, we're barely losing. Once thought to be out of the question, the legalization of marijuana, otherwise known as weed or cannabis, has become more and more popular with voters across the nation, and Pennsylvania is no exception. How would you deal with marijuana as governor? I think people are more focused on groceries and gas than marijuana. I'll consider any bill that comes across my desk as governor. I'm opposed to the legalization of weed and would veto a bill legalizing it. If you look at liberal Democrat cities that have it legalized, it's not going to do the state any good. I support the legalization of weed, but let's not emphasize this too much. By and large, Republicans here don't exactly support the move. As a proponent of small government, I support legalizing recreational weed. It's relatively harmless and only serves to give the government more power to enforce a ban. Let's do the first one. A non-committal response may be a smart move, given that plenty of Republicans oppose legalizing weed. Okay. In 2020, issues regarding police brutality and systemic racism are at the forefront of the debate after the killing of George Floyd. What steps, albeit limited, would you take as governor regarding police issues? I do think that some of these urban areas, like Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, run their police departments can be improved upon, but this isn't that big of an issue for this election. I really don't think this is an issue I need to focus on. This is for local jurisdiction, for them to decide what is best. I support our police force, but I understand the need for some reform. I do think that some of the policies we see from Democrats are not aligned with Pennsylvania, and Shapiro will just help them double down. Officers put their lives on the line every day to protect our communities. I back the blue and see no reason to criticize offices in their current state. Okay, so we're barely winning. Let's say this is for local jurisdiction. This answer has been unexpected and unorthodox, but no harm, no foul. Okay, oh man. This is going to be a close one. As the campaign season draws to a close and prices start to slightly improve, what message would you like to hammer on going into the final days? Times are uneasy and prices are high. Democrats led us into this mess, so we need Republicans to get us out. For the last 2 years, Biden and the Democrats who installed him have fractured our nation with their liberal agenda. We'll fight back, and it starts by taking back Pennsylvania. I will be a governor for all, securing freedoms for all, and creating opportunities to make this Commonwealth a great place to live. I'll bring common sense, conservative solutions with a smart consensus to the Commonwealth. Let's do the first one. An expected final speech, and one that draws the battle lines clearly, but a smart move focusing on the economy. Man, this is going to be a close one. Okay. In final days of the campaign, where would you like to spend your final trips? Let's head out east and campaign in the counties surrounding Pittsburgh. Trump made a splash in the working class counties of Luzerne and other northeastern counties. We can improve on his margins there. We shall barnstorm the rural areas and get as many places across the state as possible. Let's hit the suburbs of Philadelphia, Bucks, Montgomery, Delaware, and Chester that have all been hit hard by the inflation crisis. Honestly, I think we do that last one. Appears the polls were a little off, and that's bad for you, huh? I guess Rovember was real after all. Regardless, after a long day on the campaign trail, you arrived back at home. Best of luck, Doug. Okay. I'm just going to move straight to the results. Sorry, you've lost the 2022 Pennsylvania governor's race. You're always considered the underdog, and National Republicans' reluctance to pour money into the race always made this an uphill battle. Still, it's a disappointing loss as Republicans have failed to capture a key gubernatorial office. And to add insult to injury, it appears Democrats are now poised to take control of the Pennsylvania State House, which many Republicans blame on you. While he'll still be working with the Republican State Senate, Shapiro's victory means voters have again rejected a Republican trifecta in Pennsylvania, and he still has a variety of tools to get his agenda passed. You still have your job as a state senator, and you can use this to continue to needle Shapiro on a variety of issues, just like you did with outgoing Governor Wolf. But losing in a red wave year like this likely means your political career is damaged. Maybe a House of Representatives run next time if there's an opening. For now, prepare to return to the Senate to help balance the Shapiro agenda. Okay. Oh man, we did pretty good. We lost by 0.3%. So it's not bad.